Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. I repurchased an old micro four thirds lens that I sold several years ago. Now, I initially purchased this lens to take over to Germany with me, I think back in 2018 or so, and then I didn't use it for a stretch of time and I sold it. Now, just to put this video into some sort of context, I picked that lens up brand new for 120 Australian dollars, which is like 80 US dollars or something like that, right? So I got it for an absolute steal at a closing down sale at a shop here, only to sell it, and I made a few bucks when I sold it, and then I was like, man, I kind of miss it. So I held off. I tried full frame zoom lenses, and I thought, you know what, the strength of micro four thirds, other than the small primes, is of course the small zooms. So I thought, I'm going to find one of these. So I got on eBay and I was looking for many weeks, and one finally turned up. And I sometimes wonder if this one is actually the one that I sold, because it looks very similar cosmetically. It had a couple of the same marks on there. So what did I get? I got a new micro four thirds lens, well, a second-hand one for a steal. This cost me about $20 more than what I sold the old one for, but it's been years, so I figure that's still a pretty great deal. This is the Lumix 45 to 150 millimeter zoom. Now, this is a bit of a plastic fantastic. You'll either like this lens or you won't, but I was really impressed with what I was able to get out of this back in the day. Now, I wasn't like a wildlife shooter or anything like that. I just used it for video, for general purpose sort of travel stuff, and sort of punching in close when I needed to. I live in an area now where there's just plenty of really beautiful birds. I travel a bit as well, so there's times where having a telephoto zoom lens like this exact one is going to be perfect. Now, there's nothing wrong with the full frame super zooms. I really like them, but they are quite a bit bigger and heavier, and they're also way more expensive than this. So I shot some test samples with this today without updating the firmware. So it had some ancient firmware on there. It's now up to firmware version 1.2, which enables the dual IS, which wasn't on when I took all of these sample shots. So what I'm going to do is share with you some samples shot with the G9 Mark II over here in the 45 to 150 millimeter lens, and I'll put some voiceover over this section as well. This isn't a full-blown review, it's just like a first impressions and first test, again with the old firmware with the new camera body. So yeah, just update it if you've already got one of these. There's a firmware from a few years back that turns on some features that weren't on before, so definitely do that. Let's get into it. All of these slow motion clips were captured using 4K at 120 frames per second in S&Q mode on the Lumix G9 Mark II, and this was all shot with my natural plus picture profile. Now, I'm actually shooting a lot of this towards the sun, so it's not the best footage in the world, but it's just a first test about how it all works. Now, with the autofocus settings here, being that I'm shooting 4K at 120 frames per second, in a lot of these clips, there's no animal detection, so I just set up a one area plus mode and had no problems keeping that particular area in focus. Shooting 4K 50 frames per second here allowed me to get animal detection autofocus in the camera, and it worked really well. Whether I was shooting photos or video, it had no problems again tracking the subject. As long as the bird wasn't too far behind other obstructions, it had no trouble tracking whatsoever. One of the cool things about the G9 Mark II and many other cameras from Lumix is it has a pixel-to-pixel mode built into it. So I'll show you how tight I could get in on this particular shot using the full area of the sensor, and then in using the pixel to pixel mode. And again, the quality doesn't look like it's missing out whatsoever. So yeah, this is a really handy mode just for getting a little bit more of a crop. Now, another trick you can get just to punch in a little bit further if you want is to use the E-stabilization. So you can either use the E-stab on standard or on high, and it will digitally crop in, but also give you much more stable results. So this is another trick just to get in a little bit further if you prefer to shoot that way. Let's talk about the focal length and aperture. So 45 millimeters is 90, right? So already that 90 millimeter equivalent full frame is crazy. It's already, punched quite a long ways in, but 150 with it out like this is 300 millimeters. 300 millimeters, and look how small this thing is. It's super light as well. It's great for sort of travel, throwing it in the bag without weighing it down. And the aperture might be a concern for some folks if you're shooting in sort of, mixed or terrible lighting situations. This is f4 to f5.6, but for outside stuff, it doesn't really matter. I think a lot of the micro four thirds lenses really sort of shine around f4 anyway. So yeah, it looks sharp enough for me, but yeah, I've just updated the firmware, so we're going to see whether or not anything changes on the next video. But I just wanted to share this with you because I'm going to be planning some travel. I've already planned it actually, so I might take this with me. I'm not 100% certain yet, but I'm definitely going to be sharing with you some sort of more wildlife stuff around the area here because there's some cool stuff. It's really cool. So yeah, let us know what you think if you're a fan of this lens. If you want to check out my original review many moons ago when I had more hair, you can check it out by using the link up here. Maybe I was still bald back then. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you soon.